Well, I come to South Africa because I love this country. It's fabulous. I'm a rugby player, so I'm always cheering for the Springboks. And then, when the Springboks were not allowed into the World Cup anymore, that was a loss to the world of rugby. And so when Mtila came in and brought the team back, it's always been, that was a bold move by Mtila. So because I'm a rugby player, plus from here I go to Australia, and I beat the Wallabies over there. So I'm just kind of a Southern Hemisphere, and then after that it's the All Blacks, right? So this is where the rugby powerhouses are. So it's easy to get me to come here, Australia, New Zealand, okay?
Besides your rugby expertise, can you tell us about the book that you have right in front there, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Just a bit about it and what entrepreneurs can learn from it.
Well, Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a story about my two fathers. I grew up in Hawaii, fourth generation Japanese American. I don't speak Japanese. And the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad is my poor dad was the head of education for the state of Hawaii, PhD. And he's a good guy, but he knew nothing about money. And then when I was in school, I went to a rich kid school. I was a poor kid in a rich kid school. And I didn't know why we were poor. Why were some people rich and why some people poor? And so I raised my hand and I asked my fourth grade teacher, I said, when do we learn about money? And the teacher says, we don't teach about money in school. And I thought that was really a strange answer. She says, you go to school to get a job. I said, but isn't the job to make money? He says, no, it's just to get a job. So I always thought it was strange. So then I went to my poor dad and I said, when are we going to learn about money? And my poor dad says, well, the government doesn't let us teach us about money. I thought that was strange too. Why don't they teach us about money? What's the big secret? So my dad, poor dad, says, why don't you go meet your best friend's father? And that was Rich Dad. And so that's where the story of Rich Dad, Poor Dad began. So my rich dad was a man who never went to school, but he became a mega millionaire. And my rich dad was a professor. And that's how the story began. And Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I make very complex, simple. I use pictures. And basically, this is a book on accounting. That's all it is. Income statement, balance sheet, statements of cash flow. That's it. And every entrepreneur has got to know income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flow. So that's why I travel with my accountant here. You're rich when your accountant travels with you. So you can interview him later, but as you know, everything we do has a tax consequence to it. And so if you're smart, you can make a lot of money, do what the government wants you to do, not pay taxes. So taxes are your single largest expense, but also I use debt to invest. So I don't use money. That's why rule number one in Rich Dad, Poor Dad is rich don't work for money, because if you have a real financial education, you don't need money. So when I see all of these young people hurting for work and jobs and coming out of school in America, student loan debt is at now $1.2 trillion. Student loan debt's the number one asset for the US government today. That's criminal. Our government and our school system in America is criminal. How can they put young people in debt? And student loan debt is the worst type of debt. It's worse than credit card debt. It's worse than mortgages. It's worse than car loans. But without financial education, we're ripping off the kids. Your country, my country. So that's why I interviewed Tom. He'll talk about taxes, because you don't really have to be stupid and work hard and all that stuff. You just need a good education, and it starts with accounting.
And we will go into that conversation with Tom a bit later on. But you mentioned a crucial point that we don't really learn much about money in our education system. No. What do we need to learn during our school years in financial education?
Well, I was here with Step Up to a Startup, with Martin Sweet. I've been coming to this thing for 14 years now, because what they're doing is they're teaching kids to be entrepreneurs, not employees. You see, employees pay the highest taxes. Rich don't. And
you're a businessman yourself, successful businessman, and you deal with a lot of entrepreneurs. What have you picked up what's the one thing that all entrepreneurs have in common that you've picked up?
They all fail. Every rich entrepreneur has failed many times. But what does our school system teach kids? Don't make mistakes, don't fail. So most of these kids aren't going to make it because they're going to think making mistakes and failing means you're stupid. Look, everybody fails. You know, Jeff Bezos, who founded Amazon, his first 2 businesses failed. So it's really what an entrepreneur really needs to learn is how to make mistakes and grow from them, not fail from them. And the other thing that schools teach you is that don't cheat. Cheating means asking for help. The reason Tom travels with me, my attorneys travel with me, my bookkeepers, my bankers, is because we operate as a team. And the average person coming out of school, like a doctor or a lawyer, they want to do it all by themselves. You can't win that way. It's hard, you know. So everything they teach you in school keeps you poor.
Okay, now you're in Africa, and young entrepreneurs would be watching this, wanting to learn from your expert advice. Where's the best place to invest at the moment?
You got to invest in your education. I'm always in classes. I take seminars. I don't go to school. So when I came back from Vietnam in 1973, I just went and took seminars. I went for my MBA. I didn't learn anything. So I took investments tech seminars, stock seminars, trading to seminars, options seminars. You know, I studied constantly. But everybody, give me a tip. You know, somebody wanted to know about Bitcoin. I said, what should I do? I said, well, study it. Don't be an idiot. Well, is it real estate a good investment? I said, I don't know. Study it. Are stocks good? I said, I don't know. Study it. So I don't touch stocks. I know CNBC is stock. Because I don't have to, because I use debt and I don't pay taxes. You know, if I could buy stocks for 30 years at 2%, I'd buy them. But the most I can get on stock is, like a little on margin and stuff like that. So I like long-term debt. So there's different reasons. The more educated you get, the greater decisions you can make. I love real estate because I just like real estate. You know, I'm an entrepreneur, so I never ever liked corporate stuff. You know, I worked for Xerox. I'm not a corporate guy. So if you're a corporate guy, buy stocks. I'm an entrepreneur. I don't have to buy stocks. There's just different worlds out there. I'd rather go with my own little company, my own team, my own accountants, my own attorneys, and we go after our own deals. We can put our own deals together. And the bankers will always give us money. I love that. I love debt.
Well, and then earlier on in the conversation that you had inside there, you made me realize that I don't even know what assets are, because I always thought your cars and your house is an investment and an asset. But could you maybe just differentiate for us assets versus liabilities?
Well, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money from your pocket. So most people who buy, let's say, a house, their house is a liability because every month you got to pay the mortgage, you got to pay the insurance, and you got to pay the upkeep. But if I buy a rental property with debt, and it makes me money every month without working, it's an asset. So, you know, a house could be an asset, and it could also be a liability. It depends on how it's structured and where's the cash flowing to and from.
And just lastly, what are the crucial steps towards changing your financial future?
You got to know your real teachers. I'm coming out to plug my book shamelessly. It's called Fake. And the reason the world's in trouble is there's fake news. Trump made that famous, right? Fake news. CNBC. He kicked CNN out of his place.
He's your good friend, isn't he, President Trump?
He's a jerk, but he's a good guy. But anyway, so he made fake news. I said, really, everything's fake. First of all, there's fake money. You know, these things, derivatives like credit default swaps, mortgage-backed securities, they're all fake. You know, they're just derivative after derivative. Guys make millions of them, but they're not worth anything, really. You think about it. Make a lot of people rich, though. Then there's fake teachers. You have to know a real teacher from a fake teacher. Most school teachers in school are good guys, but they don't know what they're teaching. You know, I asked my accounting teacher, I said, are you an accountant? And he said, I am an accountant. I said, no. Are you an accountant? He's an accounting teacher, but he's never been an accountant. So how would he know what being an accountant is? You know what I mean? And my calculus teacher, I asked my calculus teacher, I said, you ever use this calculus? He says, no. I said, well, why am I learning it then? You know? And then there's fake assets. Okay? And fake assets are things that are taking money from your pocket. So for most people, unfortunately, their investments are taking money from their pocket. It's called fees and commissions. We all know the game. people create this little thing called an ETF or a stock or a mutual fund. They don't create it to make you money. They create it to charge fees for it. I don't have any problem with fees. We all have to have a fee. But what is the ROI on that fee? You know, like Tom will tell you, my ROI on my fees are infinite. I can make so much money. I don't have any problem paying the fees because I make so much money back. For the average person, let's say with a mutual fund, that fee is getting sucked out of that thing before they get nothing back. So there's an ROI on the asset, but there's also the ROI on those fees and commissions. You know, there's a lot of fake financial planners in the world, especially in America. They're poor people. You know, they don't know what they're talking about. How can they tell me what to buy if they're poor? So the reason I wrote the book Fake, coming out this year, is you better know what's real and what's fake today. So that's about, plus it's about God's money, government money, and crypto. Crypto's going to change the world. So I don't have crypto, but it's going to change the world. So that's why you got to be very attentive today.